Hello my friends, welcome to my channel. On this tiered list video, I will be ranking what I think are some of the best NFL quarterbacks of all time. I decided to do this video because after a certain Super Bowl win of another player, that has sparked some debate. So today I will be settling it, at least from my point of view. So stay tuned. Alright, because last time, in my last video, I noticed that the camera was in a really bad spot, I decided to put it up in the corner this way, just to make sure you guys can see the board a lot better. Alright, so let's do this. Now, unfortunately, these pictures don't have names to them, but it should still not be difficult. The vast majority of these I recognize. So let's just go from the left and carry on. All right. First things first. This is Johnny Unitas, and he was drafted, I think, by the Steelers, but they released him pretty early on, and he was picked up by the Baltimore Colts, and the rest is history. For a good 40 plus years, he was the best quarterback ever. I put him as S, because many of the quarterback tendencies that we see now and take for granted, he basically invented. Whether it be the no-huddle offense or the 2-minute drill, a lot of that came from him. All right, next this is Troy Aikman, I believe. All right. I'm going to put him at B. This is not to say, now keep in mind that all this is relative. Anybody who appears on D is hardly bad, because all these are probably the best ever. But that just simply means that it's to scale. And while Aikman certainly did his share of the job when it came to the Cowboys winning their 3 Super Bowls in 4 tries, he basically, I don't want to say rode the coattails, but were part of the coattails when it came to like Emmitt Smith and that vaunted defense. This is not to say he's bad by any means at all. He's arguably the best in Cowboys history, but honestly, you have to put him at B simply because he had a lot of help to go with that. Alright, next. Again, sorry about the cut. My throat is acting weird tonight. Next, let's go to, looks like Ross Lisberger, who's still playing. It's kind of weird to see him on this list, but okay. I'm going to put him at, no, this one's a hard one. I'm going to put him at D. For a couple of reasons. The big reason is that he's very inconsistent. Some years he not carries the Steelers, but some years he basically is a big reason why Steelers do well. And then other years it looks like he's pedestrian at best. So I don't know, it's kind of weird to see him on this list. I understand he has the stats, but it's easy to get the stats now considering it's such a pass-happy league. I know he had some great years. Like one year, he probably should have been MVP with a 5,000-yard passing year. I know that year he had 2 games in a row. We had 6 touchdowns, and I should know because I had him on my fantasy team that year. But again, he's way too inconsistent. And of all these quarterbacks, well, most of these quarterbacks I see, he's probably the most inconsistent. And I know probably there may be some Steelers fans watching this who are probably going to be angry down in the comments, and that's perfectly fine. Just no profanities, please. And if you think that's bad, wait until I tell you about the next guy. Because if I'm correct, this is Terry Bradshaw, who I would consider the best quarterback of the Steelers' history. Yeah, probably better than Ben Roethlisberger. Sorry. So I will put him at C. Again, I'm not here to say that he was carried by anyone, because when you win 4 Super Bowls, you clearly pull your fair share, especially that one Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys where they won 35-31. Clearly, he did his job, but it's really hard to get a sense of how good he could have been, considering that he was basically with the greatest defense, at least by a long period. Most defenses tend to have like 1 or 2 good years. Very rarely do you get a historic defense that lasts years upon years. Like for instance, the closest modern example we have would be the Baltimore Ravens from 2000-2006. But generally, you get defenses that last maybe 1 year. Like for instance, Saxonville of 2017 was only 1 year. The Legion of Boom was maybe 3 years. The Denver defense that carried Peyton Manning was 1 year. Generally, don't get that. Bradshaw was lucky to have the steel curtain, which lasted a decade plus. So again, I don't want to discount anything he's done. He was great, but that does, I think, hurt his ranking. Again, this is very relative. D is not Rex Grossman level. D is simply just outside of greatness, I think. If I were to rank these, S would be best of the best, top ever. A would be just below, and then etc. D is simply not quite the best of all time, but right up there, like just really close. Alright, next is, this one's Tom Brady. And it's worth mentioning that I have a bias as I grew up a Patriot fan. So, let you know that, but yeah. Come on. It's like 7 rings. It's really hard to argue that you got lucky. So let's move on. Brett Favre. The problem I have with Brett Favre is that he had a really bad tendency to blow games. Like, a lot of people talk about how clutch he was. I don't remember that. Now, I grew up watching 2000s NFL. Maybe he was in the 90s, and I've seen his stats, but it's like far too often he would blow. Like, most playoff games ended with a Brett Favre interception. So I'm going to put him C. And I know, please leave in the comments down below how pissed off you are at me. and that's fine, but yeah, the big, obviously I can't deny that he was an Iron Man. Like, he played, 270 games in a row? Amazing. And he obviously gained points by being relevant with 2 different teams. And really would have been 3 if he didn't get injured with the Jets. So maybe I could bump him up, but yeah, that interception total is not good, and I've seen him blow way too many games. Like, technically, they probably should have gone to Super Bowl in 2007 and in 2009. But again, because of his often moments of stupidity, it's really hard to argue against that. And again, you could say, well, he has the most interceptions because he passed the most. Well, yeah, but Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees all passed Brett Favre. So it's like, and they're nowhere near his interception total. It's just that he was very boom or bust. Next, Dan Fouts. Yeah, I think Dan Fouts is probably the most overrated ever. D. Really, I looked at his stats. The only reason he's considered a Hall of Famer in that regard is because he had that, like, he was the first one to have, like, 4,000 passing yard seasons in a row. And while that certainly is nothing to scoff at, it's like, that in itself is not a career. That a career does not make. Now, I'm telling you right now, there are 2 quarterbacks here that I'm glancing that are not here. So I will be talking about the 2 quarterbacks I noticed that are not here when we get there. Alright, next we have Drew Brees, who's still playing. This one's kind of hard because, on one hand, his lack of playoff success has come from the fact that there was no help. Like, his defenses have been historically bad. But on the other hand, it's like, he's been here long enough. At what point do we say, like, this last one against the Buccaneers really did not look good? And I've seen some games where it's like they were in an opportunity and they did not come through. Now, I get that 2018 game was bullcrap. They should have gone to Super Bowl, but it is what it is. But the loss against the Vikings and the loss against the Vikings again certainly hurt his legacy. So with all that said, I'm going to put him in B. He will certainly go down as a first ballot Hall of Famer, as he should. But yeah, it's hard for me to say he's any more than that. Like, he's certainly within Troy Aikman levels, I think. Oh, and I know a lot of people like to, put them in sub areas. I don't like it. If you want me to, let me know in the comments down below. If you want me to in the future, put them in subgroups. If I had to guess here, I'd say he's a little better than Aikman. So let me know if you guys want me to do that. I don't really care to, so let me know. Eli Manning. Now this is a joke. And again, I know I'm biased because I'm a Patriot fan, but seriously, will he make the Hall of Fame? Probably. But again, those two Super Bowl runs, first, which he had very little to do with, don't really make a Hall of Fame career. So I think most people understand why I do this. Next, John Elway. I consider John Elway one of the best. Very often, now I know I'm kind of using this argument, I use this argument with Drew Brees, but very often, his lack of success came from really bad team management. But he still made it to 5 Super Bowls. Brees, with bad team management, went to 1. So, again, that's where my thing's coming from. The problem, actually not a problem, Elway is one of the best ever. I would consider him probably second best. You know what, if I were to subcategorize this maybe like this so far, come on, like, I would say second best ever, because let's just honestly, if he had the same team that Montana had with the 49ers, then he probably wins multiple Super Bowls. Yeah, there's nothing much to say. He was incredible and arguably the best of that draft class. I know a lot of people say Marino, and we'll get to that in a minute, but no, it's John Elway. John Elway was the best of that class, and I will die on that hill. Next, Fran Tarkenton. Fran Tarkenton was incredible, honestly. It's really sad he could not win a ring. They went to 3 and he could not win 1. He was great as a Viking, he was great as a Giant, and he was great as a Viking again. He basically invented the scrambling quarterback. Like when you see like Russell, scrambling quarterback who can throw, I mean. Like when we see like Russell Wilson, who is arguably the best at throwing on the run I've ever seen. You have Mahomes, who isn't scrambling per se, but can move a lot in the pocket. Like, he's not like Lamar Jackson, who runs, or Michael Vick, who runs first and passes second. He could run and throw, and that was not expected and very hard to do at that time. Next, Joe Namath. That is Joe Namath, right? I'm sure in the comments down below you will tell me if I'm wrong. Unfortunately, I think it's way overrated. First of all, his stats are really abhorrent, especially compared to Johnny Unitas, who is comparable at the time. I have no clue why he's in the Hall of Fame. Is it simply because of that guaranteed game? Big whoop, he didn't do anything. Like, of all the people, if every single, including Eli Manning and everyone else in that D class, if he is the least, if everyone here is in the Hall of Fame, he is the least deserving of it. His stats were, again, not that great, and he's only remembered for 1 game. If they lose that game, he probably is not in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of ridiculous if you think about it. Next, Joe Sizeman. I'm not sure about that. Let's see here, Joe Theismann. You rarely hear about him. Like, when I hear about the greatest of all time, I rarely hear Joe Theismann's name. I know he's in the Hall of Fame and all, but, let me think about that. That's difficult. I'm going to say C. I do know that he had a fairly short career because of an injury, but I've heard he was pretty good. Not like the greats as the people above him, but still really good and helped his team to a Super Bowl. I think he may have gone to multiple Super Bowls. Let me know in the comments, did he go to multiples and he just lost one? I don't know. But yeah, Johnny Namath thing was pretty good. Next, Joe Montana. Oh, crud. Sorry, my friends. Joe Montana. Well, guys, I hate to do this to you, but, yeah, come on. I'm kidding, everyone. Joe Montana is Joe Montana. There's not much I can say that hasn't been said already. People consider him the clutchest quarterback ever, and while I don't necessarily agree with that, I certainly agree. He was certainly the most clutch quarterback of the 80s, or even of the next 3 decades. A lot of people will say that he was carried by a good team, and to a degree I kind of understand the argument. He did win his Super Bowls. He won 2 Super Bowls before the greatest receiver ever, Jerry Rice, came into play. So I'm not really buying the whole he was carried. Even if he won 2 Super Bowls on his own. So Joe Montana is clearly one of the best ever. Alright, let's continue on. Next is Jim Kelly with the Bills. Obviously, going to 4 Super Bowls in a row is like insanely difficult. I do know only a couple of teams have gone to 3 in a row besides the Bills, obviously. I believe that was the Dolphins, 77 72, I believe, and then the Patriots did it in 2017, 2018, 2019. No, wait. No, that's right. Um, no, is that right? Yes. No, 2016, 2017, 2018. I actually don't remember. I'm sure somebody's gonna fact check me. Uh, but um, but yeah, going to 4 in a row, that's never happened before, and will it happen again? I don't know. Chiefs might do it. I don't know. But despite that, I'm gonna put him in A. Yes, I know he lost all 4 Super Bowls, but the first Super Bowl was bad luck, I think. I don't remember. I have seen a lot of the Super Bowls in like retro video formats on YouTube, but I don't think I watched the one with the Bills and the Redskins. Now, yes, um, they got blown out by clearly a better team than the Cowboys, and that probably hurts his value a little bit. But honestly, their offense was revolutionary. They went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, and he was the helm at. And his team, while really good, was not like on 49ers or Steelers level of support. So I'm going to say that's good for him. A. He's definitely one of the best. Next is, I believe that's Lynn Dawson. Lynn Dawson's kind of hard because of all the quarterbacks here. I know about him the least. I do know he won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs back in Super Bowl 4, and he went to Super Bowl 1, and he was really good. I'm going to put B simply because I know that at the time he was considered one of the best, but I'm not sure how he compares to the other ones, so that sounds probably, that sounds about right. B's a safe zone. Next, Warren Moon. I actually feel bad for Warren Moon because he was like sorry, Elway. He was like John Elway on steroids, in the fact that he was on really bad teams. Like the Oilers weren't bad per se, but they sure did not help him in the playoffs, and the Vikings also didn't help. He went to the playoffs a lot, but it was like 1-6 something, just like really a lot lousy luck. He was definitely one of the best, one of the most proficient passes I read somewhere, and it's like clearly was really good. Just I think had some rotten luck. Next, Otto Graham. This one's kind of hard because I think he played with Jim Brown, and if that's the case, which I think it is, while he went to numerous championships and won like several in a row, clearly a lot of that was because of Jim Brown. Not really to discount what he's done, and I really don't want to do that, but a lot of that is credited to the team around him, which would be Jim Brown. Next, Peyton Manning. Again, very little has to be said about Peyton Manning. One of the best ever to do it was like Mensa, or the smart kids of football. He was like a prodigy. Despite all that, I'm going to put an A. Why? Well, quite honestly, there's a reason a lot of people call him best regular season quarterback of all time. Because in the playoffs, very often he would be pedestrian. I know a lot of people are like, well, he doesn't have very good support, blah, 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 blah. Well, neither John Elway, and he went to 5 Super Bowls. The problem with Manning is, from what I saw, very often he would just blow it in playoffs, quite simply. For instance, you can't look at the 2013 Broncos and say, well, he didn't have a good support cast. He apparently had it good enough to break records in passing, had the best passing year ever. He just simply, well, not to his credit, not just him, but he simply did not come to play in that Super Bowl. Kind of similar against New Orleans. Technically, they were a better team. They were 14-0. Rest their starters, but cruised through the playoffs in 2009, and just lost to the Saints, which ended on a really bad Manning interception. So it's like, if he was a little better in the postseason, I would clearly put him as S. But as of right now, he was middle of the road. Like he was S in regular season, C maybe in the playoffs. Alright, as I had to cut to blow my nose, I thought of 2 more quarterbacks that should probably be added to this list because of certain considerations. But we'll get to those in a minute. Because apparently I just realized that we have a second picture of Tom Brady here. That's a little weird. So once we get to this picture, I will and I will talk about the 4 quarterbacks that are surprisingly absent from this. Alright, next we have Phil Simms. I don't know much about Phil Simms. I know that he was pretty good. One of the Super Bowls he won was not him, it was Hofstadter. But again, he did his part in the regular season. I'm going to put him as C, because I think his stats are good, but not like this area, for the time at least, because there were a lot of quarterbacks, there were a few quarterbacks above him. So that sounds good. Next, Aaron Rodgers. Quite frankly, if I don't even think he's the best of all time in his own team, how can I possibly think he's best of all time here? No, this is probably going to be my most divisive one, but bring it on. I will die on this hill. D. The problem I have with him is not his physical ability. Yes, we heard. I heard it from Stephen A. Smith, all those people. He's the most athletic thrower of the ball. He's the best thrower of the ball, although I think that's being debunked right now, as Mahomes seems to be more physically gifted. But it's like, as we've seen from some quarterbacks, being physically gifted is not necessarily enough. The problem with him is twofold. First off, from what I read, he's not a good teammate. He won't take pay cuts. He's constantly throwing his team under the bus, and numerous people are saying how poor of a teammate he is. Like, come on. I can't put anybody higher than that. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame, and yeah, he should, but yeah, come on. And then his playoff performances are often, sometimes less than stellar. Like, this past one against the Buccaneers, not good. Against the Falcons a few years ago, when the Falcons had their record-setting year, he also played poor against a defense that was, average maybe. He has some great moments, but a lot of people really get excited when he does stuff, and it's like he's physically gifted, but when you need him, he's not there. He's not the most clutch either. I read a statistic where he's like 0-49 when losing at halftime against winning teams. It's like, no, he can be up on the small teams, but against the good teams, he's exposed. And a lot of people will show his Hail Marys as like, that's more the receivers than it's him. He can throw the ball far, sure, but I bet more than half of the quarterbacks can just throw the ball far. So, yeah, I know a lot of people will be pissed, but come on. I don't even think he's better than Brett Favre. How can you possibly put him higher than Brett Favre? Next is Roger Staubach. Oh, this one's hard. A. I know he has fewer rings than Troy Aikman, but his team, while really good, was not as good as Aikman's team. Not to mention, his career kind of came around the time of the Steel Curtain, just really bad timing. But still, he won 2 Super Bowls and was one of, if not the best quarterback of that decade. And he led America's team, so it's hard to put him any higher. I don't put him in S tier simply because of those Super Bowl losses, especially against the Steelers. Steelers got the better of him, and it is what it is. Next, I think that's Kenny Stabler right here. I'm gonna put him at Kenny Stabler. Well, he won 1 Super Bowl, and Jim Plunkett won the other 2. And I think with Jim Plunkett, he didn't really have a Hall of Fame career. He just had 2 really good years, similar to Eli Manning. There's your Kenny Stabler. I'm going to put C. I know he's a face of the Raiders, but I'm not sure if he was any better than that. So that looks like it's a good spot for him. Next is Bart Starr. Now, I do think he's the best quarterback in the Packers' history, so I'm going to put it at B. Now, a lot of it is probably due to Vince Lombardi. Maybe he'd do it with someone else, but Bart Starr was a 13th round pick, I think, or 20th round, something really like an insane number. And he led a team to numerous championships, including the first 2 Super Bowls. So that's incredible. And he was very selfless and called his own plays. There's nothing else to say. Really great. Next, Steve Young. C. Oops. Nope. C. Honestly, I think Steve Young is very overrated. It's like, a lot of it, like, sure, he had great stats, it's wonderful, but he won 1 Super Bowl with a loaded team that Montana won at least 2 Super Bowls with. Because remember, he won 2 Super Bowls with a lot of the cast that Young was with. So I will say C is good. I think he's a little overrated. Again, not to say he's not Hall of Fame worthy. Obviously he is, but he is pretty overrated, as I don't think he was that great after all the legends left. And last of the pictures, we have Kurt Warner. Honestly, I was thinking of putting him lower, but it has to be B, right? I mean, he's the first quarterback. No, I don't think he's the first, but he's one of the few quarterbacks to lead two teams to the Super Bowl. That's great. He led the lowly Rams at the time, and then the lowly Cardinals. That's amazing. Of course, his career has been a little inconsistent. Like, if you want to be pragmatic, he had maybe 5 good seasons, but still, I still think his mediocre seasons were still pretty good, and he'll go to the Hall of Fame. Probably not first ballot, but he was still really good. I just think he had some bad luck with him. And now I want to talk about the 4 quarterbacks who I notice are absent here for some reason, which are Ken Anderson, who played for the Bengals, Dan Marino, Donovan McNabb, and Randall Cunningham. So let's talk about the 4. Okay, first I mentioned Ken Anderson, I think is his name. And I know it's Boomer Esiason. I'm not going to get into that. No, he wasn't that great. Well, Ken Anderson actually, I think I read somewhere, had the highest completion percentage at the time. Like, he had incredible stats with a team that wasn't that great. In fact, he basically carried the Bengals to the Super Bowl that one year. Honestly, I think if he had a decent team, he would be considered one of the best. So I would put him at A. A right here would be Ken Anderson. Next, we'd have Dan Marino. I would also put him at A. It's hard to deny, like, nowadays, 48 passing touchdowns is not that incredible. You had Rodgers this past year got 48, then the year before that, Mahomes got 50, and a few years before that, Peyton Manning got 55. So, obviously, nowadays getting that many touchdowns is not that surprising. But the gap between Marino and other quarterbacks of that 1984 year, I think, 1984 year is incredible. It's too bad they didn't win the Super Bowl, but it is what it is. Now, I do think a lot of it is to do, I think a lot of his lack of success is to do with the poor front management. But to be fair, after that 1985 season, where they lost in the AFC Championship, after expecting to go back to the Super Bowl, I do think his play in the playoffs started to decline. And of course, no better way to illustrate that than his last game in 1999, where he lost 62-7. But still, he was a prolific passer at a time where that wasn't necessarily the thing. So A. Next, Donovan McNabb. This one he would put as D, and the reason I mention him is because I've seen a lot of people mention Donovan McNabb when talking about big quarterbacks, saying that he should have been considered one of the greats and borderline Hall of Fame. For me, that's difficult. On one hand, I can see the arguments because he went to 4 NFC championships in a row. That is incredible. And he almost had another Super Bowl run in 2008, and they probably should have if Andy Reid knew how to manage the clock. But a lot of that, I think, is to do with Andy Reid, as Andy Reid's a great regular season coach, and McNabb was great in the regular season, but sometimes blew in the playoffs. In fact, the reason they didn't go to more Super Bowls is because they blew it a lot in the NFC Championship. And then last but not least, we Randall Cunningham. The irony of all this is he was a great ranked quarterback, but one could argue he was better when he didn't run at all, as his best season was that last season with the Vikings. With that, I would put him as B, because he was with the Eagles. He was for a while with the Eagles team that wasn't always great. And when the Eagles went to Super Bowl that first time, I don't think he was even the quarterback. I don't think. Wasn't it Ron Jaworski or something like that? Something Polish? I don't remember. NFL fans can leave a comment down below if you guys know. I don't know. But yeah, I would put him as B because he was great. Maybe not as great as he should have been, but he was still really good. Alright, well, with that all said, just want to ask if you have any other quarterbacks you want to hear my opinion on. Please leave a comment down below and make sure they're reasonable. I am not going to waste my time with like your Nathan Petermans or your Rex Grossmans of the world. If they have been consistently successful, I will rank them. I will pay attention and rate them for you. So let me know if you do have someone in mind. Let me know in the comments down below, and also let me know if you have any other tier lists when we look over. Well, with all that said, I just want to thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate every single one of your views, every single one of my viewers. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. It helps the channel a lot. It doesn't take any time. And also, please like this video. So thank you all very much for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.